It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The Utah Jazz season is in the books. They lost game number 60. The Lakers beat them. It's all done. Today's the Clean Out the Lockers Day. Press conferences, we will be carrying them either live or taped as they happen or don't happen or eventually happen. We'll let you know what everyone has to say as they put this season in the books. Look forward to the draft, the offseason, and next year. Will Hardy's scheduled to speak at 8 a.m. Hasn't started yet. Yock's monitoring that, and we will have it for you when it begins. And that would be right now. All right, here's Will Hardy.
Successful season, and did you accomplish most of the things you wanted to, more than you wanted to?
Yeah, I think it was for sure a successful year for our group. I think we have a much better understanding now of who we are as a group in this moment. We have a better understanding now of some of our, really all of our players, in particular the young players. I think when we say young players, we're generally talking about the guys on their rookie scale contracts. I think we saw individual improvement from everybody. I think it helps us, again, have a better understanding of where we are as we look towards the future now. But also very proud of the way the team conducted themselves every day. They came to work, they took feedback, they really gelled as a group. Like, you guys were around our team a lot. We had an incredible spirit of the group this year. So overall, I thought it was certainly a success.
A lot of the guys, when we talk to them, are not secretive about the fact that they're like, yeah, we can make the playoffs next year. Like, that's the goal that they're looking at. I mean, Lowry's chomping at the bit to just get there one time, you know.
Right.
Do you think that this roster is capable of making it to the postseason in the Western Conference?
Well, I mean, we don't know what that roster is going to be opening day next year.
If it was as constructed.
I don't know. I really don't. We've, Jaron played 2 games with us. We didn't have Walker during that time. There's a lot of circumstances that go into projecting win totals in playoffs or not. I think certainly it'll be great to have expectations. I think it'll be great to be able to put the group out there and see where we stack up. You know, I think we all want to improve. I think we're very capable of improving and taking a step forward. How big that step is, I don't know yet. There's so many factors that are not in our control as it relates to everybody else when you start stacking yourselves up. But I'm glad the guys are excited. Like, I want them to have that mindset as they go into their summer work. Goals, things in the distance to look at and to kind of hunt, I think is good for everybody's competitive spirit.
When we talk to them, especially the young guys that we're talking about, often when we ask them kind of in exit interview settings what they want to work on this summer, the general answer from all of them is everything. I want to work on everything. We've talked to you about that before. So maybe Ace, Keontae, where are the biggest kind of areas for them to hone in on?
Ace's body is first and foremost. We talked a little bit yesterday about, with young players, the biggest gap you're trying to bridge early is the physical one. Ace is an incredible athlete. He's also young. And so I think for him to try to take this offseason and really dig into his body is very important. And then I think he and Keontae, it's going to be about your individual defense. We're going to have to take a huge step in that area, and before a collective group can take a step forward on the defensive side, every person has to take a step forward. That means your one-on-one defense, that means your understanding of scheme, that means your ability to play at a disadvantage, play 1 versus 2 and make choices. You know, personnel comes into effect a lot, but using the word expectation that you asked about earlier, I have a high expectation for those two in their offseason. You have to do the work, and you can say that you want certain things. You can say, I have expectations next year of X, Y, and Z, and those things are all great to say, but those two, the rest of our locker room, myself, our coaching staff, like, we all have work to do this summer, and that way when we get back together as a team, you get to sort of show off some of the things that you worked on, and it also shows the rest of the group that you're willing to do the things necessary to improve. So I have high expectations for their work this summer.
With Jaron only playing 2 games, how clear are you on his role next year, and what have those discussions been like between you and him with envisioning that next year?
I think the discussions have been frequent and will continue to be frequent. In this moment, the clarity is not great. I have plenty of ideas. I have plenty of concepts that I think will be very good for him, but I think any coach would tell you it all looks good on the board. Like, we're all really smart in a meeting, but you got to get the guys on the floor, and you got to let them show you a little bit too, like what's possible. I think one thing that we have done very well as an organization, and I want to give our coaching staff credit, is that we have not put players in a box here. We have tried to really explore the depth of possibility with all of our players, and Jaron's no different. He has, he has enough of a career behind him that he has a reputation, and so we all envision one thing. But I'd like to see if there's more. I think that's always our vision as a staff is, you don't want to make the team a laboratory, but you do need to test certain things to see what's possible, because these guys are, the talent level in our league has never been higher. And I just think there's so much context to basketball in particular in terms of style of play and who your teammates are and what your role is and what that allows you to show. And we saw that this year with our young players. As they got more opportunity and they got sort of moved up the pecking order in a game, you saw some things that maybe you hadn't seen before. So Jaron will be no different.
Between Walker and Jaron, if Walker's back, you seem like you have good rim deterrence.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that as a starting spot for the defense next season?
Huge. I think protecting the rim and owning the backboard, is a really good place to start. The possession battle in our league is extremely important. You see different ways to attack that. There's forcing turnovers, and then there's the rebounding margin. And I think that if those two guys are together, hopefully we can do a good job of both, but it's not going to just be them. We've seen and learned a lot about it takes an entire team to protect the rim. It takes a collective mindset to protect the rim, and it takes a lot of relentlessness to rebound in our league now. The crashing is going up from your opponents, and with the amount of threes that are shot, the variety of bounces is up. So it's going to take the whole group, but those two would be a good starting point.
We talked a lot this year about how your message to the group last year was that no one's going to come in and save them. Is it a similar message this year? Have you changed the message for them heading into the offseason?
No. No, I have not changed it. Yes, the message is the same. We have to operate every day like this is it. And that's the mindset. And until or if something changes, that's a different story. But I want all of our players to envision that next year is a breakout year for them. You know, every good player, every great player in our league has had a quote-unquote breakout season. Happens at different points for different people, but I would like for all of our players to be thinking that it could be them. I felt like going back to last summer, it was what drove Keontae. And the other guys worked just as hard. It's not that Keontae worked harder than anybody else, but he ended up having, you know, a little bit of a mini breakout season for himself. And it's because of the work he put in. So I expect that from everybody this summer.
Guys like Nurk and Kevin, do you do any advocating to maybe bring them back or to have veterans of that caliber on the roster?
Yeah, I think it's more nuanced than just advocating. I think you have to give real, honest perspective on what people bring to the group. You talk about the things that they added in our locker room, on the floor, away from the court, the way they handled the other veterans, the way they handled the young players, because the decisions aren't just as simple as like, we love Kevin and we love Nurk. If it was that simple, man, it would be a lot easier to deal with the ebbs and flows of roster movement in this league, you know, especially as a coach. Like, you get attached to these guys, like you do. We're in it together, we're with them every day. You build real relationships. You know, I've been fortunate to coach a bunch of guys who you kind of have two layers of the relationship. You've got the coach-player one, and then you've got the human-to-human one. And so, yeah, I think you sort of advocate for all the guys in different ways, but it's really just about making sure we understand all of the factors. Like, here are all the things they bring as we look to put together the best group that we can. You know, there are a lot of different ways to do it, but yeah, I'm a big fan of those two guys. I think what they did for our group this year, it can't be measured, but if you've been around our team, you definitely feel it every day.
How did Keontae's breakout that you mentioned, I guess, kind of open up things for the roster and then change the trajectory as far as the willingness to, like, kind of move out of this phase that you guys have been in for a few years?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think it was more, it gave us the feeling of we have a really good young player in our program. I don't know if Keontae is, you know, the reason why we did anything. I think it was more a lot of excitement for us that we were developing somebody internally who can really help us going forward. I do think Keontae, and the way that he plays, he can play with a lot of different people, which is also exciting as a coach. But I wouldn't say that, you know, because of Keontae's breakout year is why we did X, Y, or Z.
One of the things that I asked Keontae was if he thought that we were going to see a different side of you next year. And without skipping a beat, he was like, oh yeah. Because I think that, you know, with a healthy roster and with the additions to the roster and what could potentially be possible, I think that he sees it as you wanting to win just as much as everyone else, and that he'll see kind of more of that. Do you think that there's truth to that?
been here 4 years. Do you guys not think that you've seen all sides of me at this point?
I don't.
No?
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the dosage may be different on certain things, but I feel like I've been pretty open and honest with the team and with you guys throughout my time here. You know, Keontae's probably nervous.
Yeah.
But that would be appropriate.
Good.
Yeah.
What else? Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, there's Will Hardy, and during that interview I was told there'll be no live player interviews today, so we'll see if some quotes and some sound comes out, but that's it right there for live today during our show. PK, he hit on several points there, and we got Steve Cleveland coming up, and we can get to them with Steve and all that. But you heard him talk about Jaren Jackson, which is what you were alluding to earlier in the show. What more is there? I mean, he's going to be careful what he says, but when I heard him talk, what I thought I heard him mean, even though he's not going to say it, is Ja Morant gets a lot of shots, and Ja Morant tends to attack one-on-one from the top of the key. Maybe there's other ways Jaren could play that could get him the ball, and we got to see if we can unlock some stuff there. And you were talking earlier about what kind of upside does Jaren Jackson Jr. have, and clearly you're thinking the same way Will Hardy is thinking right there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's a blank canvas for Jaren Jackson Jr. because of the fact that they only had him for 2 games. And he looked good in both of those games, obviously. And, you know, anytime a player who's a very good player is in a new setting, you're not really sure. And with that in mind, how's it going to play out? That's what's going to be fascinating to see. I'm real intrigued about this. I'm thinking that they think, logically, they think that the best is yet to come, so to speak, and that they're going to not necessarily unlock him, because I think that's too drastic. I don't think he's been locked. I think they're going to expand him. The idea is to expand him as it is to expand marketing and expand everybody on this roster, because nobody right now on this roster, you know, Kevin Love, but he's not going to be a big-time player even if he comes back. These types of guys, you can argue literally every single one of them, certainly the younger guys, the draft picks here in the last 3 years, there's no question. But even these 2 guys, and throw Kessler in there definitely also, is that they haven't hit their stride. And whatever they have, they've got more to give. And it's up to Will and his staff to get that and put those guys in a position. I think Will understands that completely, that, okay, I've got these guys. They bring a certain level, but our goal and desire is to increase that level for literally every single one of them. And for some, maybe Jackson's just a little bit, and obviously for Ace Bailey, just a young kid, it's a long way to go for him to see how great he can be. That's their mindset. So I buy all of that.
I was really glad to hear him say Ace Bailey, Keontae George defending.
Yeah.
I thought he let his jersey, his inner jersey out to whatever degree he has that. But I could hear you nodding when he said mini breakout for Keontae, because there are a lot of Jazz fans and some media members who would say Keontae took a massive step forward, and he's scaling back. That's a mini step. There's a lot more to do.
Well, he has to say that. You don't want anybody to be satisfied.
Exactly.
And the breakout that he had was impressive. No problem admitting that. But it was impressive, as Locke has talked about, rightfully so and accurately, in a non-consequential situation. Mm-hmm. There wasn't much on the line. As Locke was saying, and we replayed it this morning, Keontae's never been in a game that really mattered. Now, the games mattered to him. But in terms of to the team, he was allowed to make mistakes, and it was just he's been in a lab for 3 years. Now it's time for the tests. I think we can all relate to that, going through school, right? It's basically been a lab experiment his first couple years. Now, these last 2, forget about his rookie year. Now it's like, all right, now we're playing to win. Now everything matters. Did you screen, all the various aspects of basketball 101, put them all there and pick in a hat, and every one of them will matter. Well, before, okay, it mattered to a degree, but not that much. Ryan Smith wants to win and win bad. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a different Ryan Smith now because, he's just sat there on the front row knowing what the circumstance is. Well, he's been biding his time. And now everybody, I'm not saying he's going to go over Larry Miller and scream at the coach. Larry was an emotional guy. We know that. Ryan doesn't seem to be that emotional. But the point being, your owner's going to be right there, and he's demanding the standard has been increased and will be increased dramatically, and that's what's going to be fun about it. Winning and playing to win is back for the Utah Jazz.
The Ryan Smith point is super interesting. We have to get back to that. I've read some stuff on social media today, and I know he gets it directly, and I am sure he has seen it, and he has been biding his time and biting his tongue for the last 4 seasons. Yeah, he wants to win. He gets why people are frustrated, but he absolutely wants a W. You're right. That will be interesting. That'll be very interesting to watch him. Will said a couple of other interesting things, and they resonate with all coaches. Steve Cleveland coached at BYU and Fresno State as the head coach. He joins us next, and we'll talk about Will's postseason statements with him. Stay with us.
Whirls around and down.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone is your exclusive home of the Utah Jazz. And we want to send you to the Delta Center to see the Jazz in action. Listen every Tuesday for the Jazz Ticket Tuesday Sounder at 30 past the hour, every hour, all day long. And if you're caller number 12, you'll be on your way to an upcoming game.
Buy one, you'll get one free.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, every Tuesday throughout the NBA season on your radio home for the Utah Jazz. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We are joined now by Steve Cleveland, former BYU and Fresno State basketball coach. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Steve, the Utah Jazz season is in the books. 4 years of tanking, 22-60. We just heard from Will Hardy, his season-ending comments. And this will shock you not at all. He went in on defending and rebounding as a group. Yes, start with the 2 7-footers and Jaren Jackson and Walker Kessler, assuming Kessler is back. But pointed out 3-point shots, more long, unpredictable rebounds. It's everybody's job. This is coaching 101, am I right? But nonetheless, yes. Absolutely on point.
No, he is on point, and they're there every day with it, and they see it. And I mean, it's challenging when you take a look at number one, just the injuries with this group. And as I was kind of preparing and thinking about where the Jazz are and where they're going forward, but when you start looking at Keontae George with a hamstring issue, Isaiah Collier with a hamstring issue, Jaren Jackson out for the season with a knee injury, Walker Kessler shoulder surgery. The game is tough enough, and and the challenge of just competing and taking this program to the next level are all things that just happen in the course of a year. But then you add on all the injuries, and you realize what a difficult time this has been. That being said, I have been around a lot of NBA teams and organizations and lived in communities. I have never seen a community more supportive of their team, regardless of what the injuries are or the record is or just the overall play of the Jazz. And I think that it says a lot about the fan base here. That's all I was going to say, is that loyal fans, but very, very difficult, challenging times for coaches and players. And hopefully some positive things can happen in the draft and guys can get healthy and the Jazz can be competitive again.
How much is improvement is the responsibility of the coaches and the coaching staff and all the stuff that goes in and the folks there versus the individual?
Well, first of all, I think they kind of go together. I'm not there in the facility, though I have been in a number of NBA facilities and have friends and individuals, people I know that I talk to. First and foremost, just the absolute pride and commitment of players should be at the very top of the list. Yes, there are going to be, you have great facilities, the Jazz, and there are opportunities for weight training and workouts and all the things that happen. But at the end of the day, I think the number one responsibility is players. And if they're healthy, they should be working out daily. They should be working towards getting better. They should be having communication with assistants. And, I haven't been around the NBA game a lot in terms of the inner workings, but I can't believe it's that much different than when I was a college coach or even a high school coach or junior college coach. Those things are pretty simple, and that is that, if we're going to get better, it starts with the players. And from there, it's the relationships with coaches, working together, what we can do to get better. So I don't think we're going to point a finger here or there. I just think all of them have a responsibility. And, the Jazz, we know what their injuries were, but there were issues before the injuries. And I'm just hoping that whether it's the draft or trades, that the Jazz can get better through that process.
On the one hand, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't changed since you coached, Steve, but on the other hand, there's a lot of stuff that has changed. And, it's the club's responsibility to provide the facilities, but boy, at the college and pro level, the facilities have gotten awesome. I think most clubs have done their duty there, and it's their duty to provide the big enough staff so everybody has somebody to work with individually. I think we're all old enough to remember when you went to practice and a coach said one thing and, you ought to be doing this, and it only applied to maybe a third or a half of the team. And now guys can get coached on what applies to them every single day for a couple hours if they want. Maybe that's why we're seeing younger players have more of an impact in the NBA. It used to be you were 27 before you got really to that elite championship level, and we're seeing what's happening in Oklahoma City with a young team, what's happening in San Antonio with a young team. And even, Luka Doncic, look how awesome he was at an early age. Like, if these guys want to improve, there's a lot out there. There's video and computer analysis that didn't exist when you coached, and I think that's one of the reasons these young guys are getting better at an earlier age.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, I think sometimes we look at whether it's NFL, NBA, whatever the league is, that, we look at the end results and not knowing sometimes what are the inner workings and what kind of commitments being made. And I have been in NFL facilities, I've been in NBA facilities, and there's never been a time where I didn't feel and believe that they were doing everything they could to get better physically, mentally, emotionally, all of those things combined. Today's athletes, I think we could, whether it's collegiate athletes or NBA athletes, sometimes I'll hear comments and things are said regarding, how easy they have it and, how everything's catered to them. These guys are the most competitive people on the planet, and they want to be successful, and the coaches want them to be successful. And, when you look at the Jazz and you kind of see the injuries and all the things that have taken place, but let's just say that everybody was healthy. Would they have won 10 more games or 15 more games? And I think the answer to that is yes. But it's also a long-term building process that probably frustrates fan base, frustrates, different groups of people in terms of why can't the Jazz get to the next level. I'm hoping that trades and the draft will improve and the Jazz, and that people can get healthy. And I've said this before, and I've heard you guys say it many times, this is the most amazing fan base I've ever seen in terms of loyalty, in terms of commitment, and, just being a part of the community. And that's one of the things I really respect about the players, the Jazz players, is how involved they are in community, despite how difficult it is for them to lose and not be as successful as they might like. There's a commitment at all levels there.
For Coach Will Hardy, how much studying do you think he needs to do in the offseason? Because it's going to be a brand new team in essence with a brand new purpose.
Well, you approach that every season you approach things like that. You're right. There is going to be a brand new purpose. There is going to be new directions and changes. And I'm not in the Jazz locker room. I'm not privy to those things. I might have an occasional conversation with Austin, or meet some folks on the road, and have a conversation. But so I'm not sure that I have the kind of input that's probably needed to really answer that question. But again, these are professionals, and they need to be doing everything that they can on the court, off the court, emotionally, everything that you need to do to get better personally. And then I think it's the responsibility of the organization, the coaches, and you get into the NBA season and you wonder, you ask yourself, there's no time to practice. We're just on the road and we're constantly playing. And are we really doing things that differently once the season is moving forward? And the answer to that's probably no. I mean, yes, they have full-time jobs and they go to their practice facility and they can watch a ton of film and do those types of things. But those are also the same things they're doing at the collegiate level. And so I just think that if I'm sitting there and as part of that organization, number one is how much better can you get? And what kind of time commit are you going to make in the off season as we prepare for the next season? And that's where I think whether it's the coaches or the associate head coaches or the support groups or the trainers or anybody that has anything to do with that organization should just absolutely be committed to, we're going to get better. And certainly a trade or two here can change everything. But if that's not possible, and hopefully that's not the case, that they can improve themselves through trades, that they spend the time and the effort. And I've been around enough teams, organizations in the NBA, in high school, college, junior college, and really when it comes down to it, if you want to improve and get better, you got to spend the time. You got to watch the film. You got to be committed to that, and then rather than just walking away for a couple months and then coming back and restarting again.
One thing Will Hardy did throw out there was he scaled back. Don't get anyone with a fat head, right? So he said, corrected, or I don't know, corrected, but fine-tuned a question and altered the assumption. So, Keontae had a nice mini breakout season, right? So there's much more for him to do. But then he also pivoted and put the onus on the other players who are going in their third year. Basically, you see what can happen in the third year. Now it's your third year. Now you need to make the jump he made, which does kind of acknowledge, he did make a pretty significant jump, right? So he's playing both sides of the coin, neither the first or last coach to do that, I suppose. So are there any of these guys that you look at and think this guy's poised for a big leap, more than another, or it's all let's get back in 6 months and see what they've done? They do it out of the spotlight, and we'll find out in 6 months. Or maybe you have an assumption, a hope that there's one player who's really going to make a difference this offseason.
Well, I'm looking at the roster right now. And obviously the thing that jumps out immediately is that, Keontae and Isaiah Collier and Jaren Jackson and Walker Kessler, everybody's hurt. So my first thought is, let's get everybody healthy. And that's got to be the starting point. Now, there are some things where, hey, it's going to be 6 months, and this is what it is, and you'll do everything you can to get yourself when it is time and when it is ready. And so the injury part of this is makes it really difficult. But that being said, when I'm just looking at the roster here, and Filipowski, he's 12-7-3, Sensabaugh is 15-3-2, Ace Bailey's 14-4-2, Markkanen being himself 27-7-3. Keontae, the numbers go. Jaren Jackson, all the things. If you take a look at this and make this a healthy group, I think we have a competitive team. I think we have a team that, is in a situation that they can get better and put themselves where, not always behind the eight ball when there's injuries and issues of that nature that really are debilitating. And I'm not talking about physically. I mean debilitating in terms of emotions, in terms of, confidence, it's hard to be confident if your body doesn't work. And the expectation for everybody is, get ready, get healthy, let's go forward and let's move. And there's so many people during the course of this season that have been hurt and really haven't been ready and being in a position to help this team. It's hard to evaluate the Jazz when you're up against those odds and you're hoping and wanting to get better. First thing you got to do is get healthy. And I'm sure they'll work on that here in the next 5 or 6 months, and hopefully they're prepared, and hopefully the draft's good to them. But I know the Jazz. I know enough about this organization that is their intent. But, man, it's got to be frustrating. And I remember as a coach, whether it was in high school or junior college or Division I, that when guys weren't healthy and guys weren't able to commit and be a part of a team, it was hard to sustain success. And we've watched the Jazz do this for a year or two now.
I understand you're back on the sidelines. What's this Utah Gold thing about?
Well, my son Casey has a travel team, and I'm not sure that my wife isn't the one that put Casey up to this. Just get me out of the house. But it's been fun to go to practice. I'm not the coach. I'm kind of a mentor. But it was fun the other day. We finished, and Casey just turned to me and he said, "Coach, what do you want to share with the guys?" And it gave me an opportunity to take 5 or 10 minutes and just talk to the guys. This is a 15 and under, 16 and under team that is talented and fun to watch and compete. And so maybe it was my wife that convinced Casey to do this, but I appreciate my son asking me to be a part of it. We're going to travel this summer. It'll be fun to reconnect with folks and be a part of it. So, yeah, it's fun. I mean, I don't I'm not the guy here, but to be with my son and to be with these young men, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Steve, thanks for the time as always. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again next week, and we'll look forward to your draft breakdowns going forward. I know you get way. I've seen you show up on draft night with pages of notes, so don't hold out for draft night. We're ready before that. Thanks, Steve.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. More reaction to Will Hardy and his season-ending comments coming up next, plus Rory McIlroy making golf history. It's all on the way. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is JJ and Alex.
I got this.
Travis Yost, our guest, he covers the NHL for TSN.
For the Mammoths, I think they're the fourth best team in the West. I think that they would be a likely favorite against Anaheim. They could be or should be a favorite in a series against Vegas. If the Mammoths close the season as we expect, by goal differential, this is the best team that has ever been on the ice for either the Utah or Phoenix, Arizona Coyotes franchise by goal differential this season right here, right now. This team absolutely should not be thinking we made it to the playoffs. What an accomplishment. At this point, considering how good the Mammoths have been, and I mean that, they really should be thinking, how do we go in and win a round in the playoffs? And I think if you've got Anaheim on the ice, even if you're the road team in that series, that's a matchup the Mammoths should want, and it's one they should win.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 7 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And now, your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer strong play of the weekend.
And here we go. His year again. Rory is a rare repeat winner at Augusta.
Rory McIlroy wins. That is the Chevy Strong play of the game. Know it today after 3 o'clock. JJ and Alex will call for it, and you can win fabulous prizes. History, PK. We are watching history. 6 majors. There's only 15 guys in more than a century of golf that have pulled that off. He is in rarefied air right now. Do you think people fully appreciate it?
How good he is? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Watching one of the legends of the game.
Yes, because I think golf does a great thing in terms of bridging the past with the current, whatever is going on in the the game of golf as we speak, as I spit it out. So, yes, I think people understand that. These guys the legends are around the game. You talk about some of these guys, they don't know who player XYZ is in these other team sports. But in golf being an individual sport, it lends itself to history automatically. And, yeah, I think maybe people don't pay attention, but for golf fans, they understand this is one of the all-timers. Yeah. And after you have been, what's the word? Not teased, but you have been shown what greatness was for so long by Tiger Woods, then, at least for me, I become addicted to it in terms of who's the next one. You know, we did that a lot with Jordan. Who's the next Jordan? And I guess you can throw LeBron and Kobe in there. There's other guys, you know, was it going to be Grant Hill? Well, it might have been, but, you know, he had a bunch of serious injuries that got in the way. And so we want that. We crave that because we've seen it now. And we want it to happen again because watching someone compete to the level that Tiger Woods did, almost like you felt like as you're watching your television that he's willing the ball into the hole. He's willing the ball on the green. When that ball sat there for 14 minutes and then finally went in the cup there, it's like, oh my gosh, that only happened because of him. Well, that doesn't really make any sense, but that's what we thought, right? How does he have power over a ball after it's left his club and just sits there for there's a few seconds, but obviously it seemed like a long time, and it drops in. It's like in our minds, only he could have done that. Well, we want that because that's addicting, and as you're a sports fan, you want that greatness. And McIlroy now, he's in the discussion to be a top 3 all-time, top 5, whatever it might be. Who knows?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, one of the things I was mentioning earlier in the show that he's got, you know, the 6 majors, that makes him one of the top 15. He's got the career slam, and I think there's, I have to look that up, 5 or 6 guys who've done that. But I was watching yesterday, they were talking about the possibility that he would win every major twice and complete a second career slam. And that list is Tiger and Jack. Like, okay, now you're getting in super rarefied air. But you brought up getting to 10 majors, which I guess we shouldn't roll out because he's still roughly in his mid-30s.
Yeah.
So he's got at least 5, arguably 10 more years to win majors. Could he win 4 more? He's talking about the pressure's off now. Maybe it's easier to win. If he gets to 10, PK, right now there's only 3 guys who've gotten to double figures, and one of them was Walter Hagen. That was 100 years ago. I don't even think most of us could pick Walter Hagen out in a photo. You know, I see him on a list, but he played before the Masters.
I could put Cody Hagen out in a photo.
Ben Hogan and Gary Player at 9. They're reachable. Go get those guys.
See, I don't buy that it's easier now. I don't think it ever gets easier.
It didn't look like it was easy for him on the back 9 yesterday, did it?
Because you're not thinking of the past. The only thing you're aware of is the moment. And you're trying to achieve something. And plus you got, in a case of these other situations yesterday, we had 5 guys who were chasing them that were all right there.
Yep.
You know, obviously Young and Rose and Scheffler and a couple other guys that were around.
10 under or better.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's what makes it so intriguing and so gripping to do what they do. And it's hard, which is why we see it in the emotions. I mean, I didn't think maybe slightly less emotional than the first one, but still right there, man. You can see how much it means. And if I'm going to be spending my time, which I literally did hours yesterday afternoon, I want it to have it matter, really matter. I'm not asking for them to suffer when they lose. I'm just asking them to go crazy in a sense, show me how much it means to you. And we see that.
I thought it was definitely less emotional. I still thought it was emotional.
Yeah,
because
not much, but a little bit.
From last
There's only
year.
one first time.
Right, exactly. And he had the career slam. But having said that, when he hit the off the tee on 18, he's in the trees almost into the 10th fairway, right? They did a great shot. They showed, you don't always know in relation to one hole to another and all that. But they showed it. And when you're like, wow. If he hits a good shot here, he's still going to make bogey. But what if he hits the tree? And I'm thinking, in that moment, I'm thinking, oh, come on, how often does that happen? Then I immediately thought of Jean Van de Velde, and then I thought of Phil Mickelson, who in his own press conference, how could I be so stupid, right? Because he made one bad swing and then made another bad decision and another bad swing. So I'm like, well, I have seen it. I guess he could. Now, he put it in the trap, and he got out of the trap and, took care of business from there. But I got to admit, I did for a moment think, geez, we're not going to have another Mickelson press conference here, are we?
No.
And the funny thing about Phil is he doesn't have the career slam, but he is. If you look at the players that we've all watched in this century, 4 guys with the 6 majors, right? With Tiger's done it, Rory's done it, Phil's done it. Well, I guess you got to go back to get the 4th guy. Faldo was doing it a little earlier, so not this century. So 3 guys in this century and a 4th just prior to that. So we've gotten to see a lot of these guys work their magic.
Yeah, and for me, that's fun. I want to see history now. I don't want to just read about it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you want to see it play out in front. The other time I thought about Tiger and wishing that ball in, I saw a clip of Tiger chipping in. They replay it periodically, and I thought that ball held on the lip longer. I guess time really did slow down because you're right. I did think it was on the lip forever, but it was a brief pause, and then it went in. It was super dramatic. And then yesterday, it was from a different spot, but it was a similar deal, and playing the break and the ball trickling toward the hole, and you really had to visualize it in your mind, and he got it so close. I mean, a lot of us would just knock it off the green, right? From one side of the green all the way off on the other. It was so close, but Roy couldn't make it go in the way Tiger could will it in. I mean, he left it like, I don't know what it was, 4, 6, 8 inches away. It was inside a foot, it looked like. It was a tap-in par. It was a great shot.
Well, yeah.
But I don't think I can ever watch anything at 16 again without seeing Tiger and what he did there. That was crazy.
But I want to see it again.
And that was close.
If
and he had to have it.
Has the opportunity to arise. I mean, go out through all the sports, man. And to see greatness, and you only have it for a short time. You have it maybe a little bit longer in golf, but LeBron's going to be gone, and so he's been in there for 21 years, but still relatively that's a short time, man.
Yeah, LeBron and Tom Brady are 2 guys who did kind of get the golf type longevity in the sports where you don't normally get it. I mean, there's a few other examples in basketball. There's really not much in football. It's the sheer violence of the game precludes that.
And now one's over and one's about to be over.
Right. Yep. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Will Hardy meeting with the media, his season-ending thoughts. We will tell you about those next. Stay with us right here on The Zone.